Welcome everyone back to What We Are Watching, episode 10. Double digits.
Freaking 10. 10.
For a second there, I thought you're like, I'm going to do the whole program through gestures. I am Joey, but I am here with my co-host and cohort for this thing that we call What We Are Watching. Big TJ, how are you, sir?
Bro, I'm with you. We're getting deep. We're getting into the nitties and the gritties of all of it, and Paulie is hilarious, so we get to talk a little bit about that. I got a funny take about Jackie Jr. It's all good. I'm great. I'm with you. I'm with you. That's what it is.
I promised myself I was going to say this when we started recording. If we have any secret millionaires watching us, if you give each of us $1 million tax free, so you pay the tax on whatever the millions are, I will record on a separate recording what TJ and I talk about before we start recording here. I will then send it to you for your enjoyment, because sometimes that's the better show. I
Real
don't record it.
Real stuff. Some of the stuff we leave off the cutting board. How many times have I asked you after we've had some of the deepest freaking conversations, like, you record this, right? And you're like, no, this is just for us. And I'm like,
just for us.
I get it, but man, that was a phenomenal point that I will never say again.
It's like you get out the reading glasses and you put them on the end of your nose. There was a blackboard. It's like Professor TJ. I'm about to turn this into a music podcast. We'll be back later on to talk about Sopranos.
Hey.
All right, but so yeah, we're at the tail end of season 3. We're going to talk about episodes 9 through 12 today, setting up. We're not going to get to it today. We're going to set up for that season finale. But a lot of stuff happens here. Again, I feel like it's every single season. They're like, we're throwing it all at the wall because we know that we can write our way out of it next season.
Yep.
So we're going to start today with the Telltale Musadel. It is the 9th episode of season 3, 35th overall episode of the series, written by Michael Imperioli, Christopher himself, directed by Dan Attias, and originally aired on April the 22nd, 2001. And 15-year-old Stephanie Germanotta makes an uncredited appearance as a classmate of AJ in this episode. Will later become famous as Lady Gaga.
Really?
Yep. She is seated on the swimming pool bleachers smoking a cigarette. If you remember the scene where they're all at the pool.
That was Gaga? Wow! All right, I'm going to have to go back and watch again so that I can see the Gaga. I did not know.
And that is the second uncredited person that they had put in this series. You remember Michael B. Jordan was one of the people chasing young Tony.
Young Tony.
When he was thinking about back to his father getting arrested. So it is Carmella's birthday. Each member of the Soprano family presents her with a gift. Tony, a very large and expensive sapphire ring. AJ purchases a copy of The Matrix on DVD. And Meadow gives her a gift certificate to a day spa, which she put on her mother's credit card and purchased one for herself as well. At Carmella's birthday party, Jackie Jr. arrives late just as they are about to sing happy birthday and apologizes for his tardiness. Afterward, AJ is invited to a friend's house to spend the night, and Meadow and Jackie go out to a movie. In bed, Carmella asks Tony why he did not buy the Mercedes SL that he had been considering. Tony replies that driving that car would make him look like a douchebag. Tony continues his affair with the Mercedes saleswoman Gloria Trillo, who, according to Dr. Melfi and unbeknownst to Tony, has a suicidal past as well as an unhealthy relationship streak. That is the understatement of this recap that I'm reading from. Gloria makes some interesting decisions over the next few episodes that we're going to talk about.
We have to.
They visit the Bronx Zoo on their next date. As they watch a gorilla, they passionately kiss and eventually end up in a deserted reptile house where they have sex with their clothes on. On their next outing, they caress on a couch in an upscale hotel room where Gloria finds Tony's gun strapped to his ankle, which fascinates and arouses her. At her therapy session, Gloria is taken aback by Dr. Melfi's questioning, in particular, the psychiatrist inviting her to elaborate on the male voice, which was heard during their last phone conversation. So I'm going to pause it there. What are your thoughts? Because I threw a lot at you.
You did throw a lot at me, man. And what I recognize is you understand the talent that I have, because it's just me. I'm juggling all these topics. And I'm sitting there like, which one do I pick out first? Okay, let's start with Carm's birthday. Nice way to start off the episode. You know, Carm's birthday, Meadow's coming back, and we're starting to see more of Meadow around because of the relationship with Jackie Jr.
Right.
You know, Meadow loves her mother, but let's be honest, she came back because she was going to see Jackie. And I just find it funny, the gifts that she got. Tony goes and apparently just finds Leonardo DiCaprio's body in the water from Titanic and rips out the diamond of the ocean or whatever the hell they called it, and he put it on a ring because that's what it looked like. It looked like that old woman had tossed it and Tony was right there at the bottom and he caught it.
I was thinking that when you said it. I'm like, I wonder if Tony was up there. Or did he send Paulie and Sylvia? They out there with nets.
Nah, just for y'all looking for a little tease, he sent Paulie and Chris, so we see how that worked out, right? So yeah, Tony goes overboard, in my opinion. You know, goes with this really gaudy jewelry that Carmella seems to like.
Right.
AJ very selfishly gives her the Matrix, and then while she's having a conversation with Meadow, he's sitting there looking at like the DVD case for the special features and stuff. So clearly that was a him purchase, you know. And same thing with Meadow. You know, she will say she had a nice thought because she took a recommendation from a friend, but I got one for myself too, and I put it on your credit card. So that right there is just it's a lot of fun. But you said it. Now we're going to get to, you know, the Gumar of it all, Gloria Trillo.
Well done.
Thank you. It's interesting the red flags that you see in hindsight, right? Tony's not abreast to it yet. He's still in the middle of it. He's not thinking about hindsight right now because he's just all in it. He's not paying attention to any of the red flags that Gloria has put off, but she has a very hot and cold relationship that we've seen from her already. And it's just going to manifest itself, as you said, in more ways. So that dynamic between Tony and Gloria and Dr. Melfi, I think Dr. Melfi is in a very uncomfortable spot because I think it's nothing for her to warn Tony. She won't do it. She is not going to discuss another patient. But, you know, she knows what's coming. And that's what is interesting to me because every time Tony gets upset and he walks out, it seems now more and more like Dr. Melfi has just come to terms with it and she smiles about it.
And we will talk about why in just a second. That is the next thing coming. But I was thinking about, you're talking about the Gumar of it all, and Tony's previous relationship with young Irina, who will show up again in just a little bit. But and she has her moments both before this and after this. But even at her craziest, I'm like, Gloria's doing some things that even Irina's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Irina, however you want to pronounce it. And I think that we've heard very many pronunciations on the show. I like that about the show. Everybody pronounces things so differently.
Right.
But Irina and her one-legged cousin, like she would push, but to me she was more like a kid. She knew what buttons to push, but she was never going to step outside of her place. Gloria recognizes part of what makes Gloria so volatile and so dangerous is because of some of the stuff that Tony likes about her. He likes that she's independent. She's made her own way. Gloria knows that even though she's self-destructive, she has been able to take care of herself for the most part, which is how she's able to buy what she wants, do trips that she wants. But as long as she knows that she can always bounce back, there's really nothing to stop her from going too far over the deep end.
Right.
Especially if she's had suicidal thoughts in the past. So she goes, you push your foot over that line. There's nothing really to scare her because she's always been able, again, to bounce back. Because, like I said, she's doing well for herself in spite of all these relationship issues that she's had in the past. That's going to be an issue for Tony.
Absolutely. And I mean, it may come up when we get there. I don't believe she's in the next episode she's talked about. It's the Christmas episode.
Right.
Where she's not there because she went on vacation. She went to
Morocco.
To Morocco.
For 2 weeks.
Tony is like fascinated by that because he's like, she didn't ask me for the money. She just went. She had her own money. That appealed to him even more. Irina might go to Morocco, but it's because Tony gave her the money and bought the ticket for her and probably had to drive her to the airport.
Same thing with Carmella.
Right.
When you're talking about relationships, let's talk about all the women in his life. Every woman in his life is dependent upon him except for Glory. And I think, again, that's part of her problem. Because she does not need him, because she does not ask him for anything, she feels privileged, which she should. She's an adult. She feels like she can say anything that she wants. And she should be able to. But that's Tony Soprano we're talking about.
Right. Right. And I'm going to get a little bit, because we get a little bit of it in episode 12, but I'm going to just give a little glimpse into some futures here because I'm a few episodes ahead, trying to get ahead, trying to stay ahead. For whatever reason, even before the main issue where Carmella starts to worry about the future and starts to worry about money, Carmella in these next few episodes starts to worry about the future because she had been like, no, I'm going to. You remember she's like, I'm going to Italy and I'm going to go on my own and you're going to take care of the kids for the summer. But it's like, how are you going to get there? Oh, well, you got to buy me the ticket and all of that. And so I'm thinking even now, like there's something in the back of her head, and the writers were very good about this. Whatever the quiet thing is in the back of her head that is whispering all this, that's been in the back of her head really since she saw that therapist who didn't charge her and says, you need to go with whatever you have now, make it on your own, because you can never, that's the thing that he says, you remember, you can never say that you weren't told, I'm not going to charge you for this. You need to get away. Right. That planted a seed in her head that is going to grow and is growing. And it manifests in a lot of different ways. True. And you'll see this in the next 4 to 8 episodes. I mean, even beyond the ones we're going to be talking about today. But the
Oh yeah.
seed is already planted, and you're getting a stark contrast between Gloria, who comes with her own luggage worth of problems, and
Mm-hmm.
Carmella, who, they're very different women, and you're seeing all of this. Let's get back to Tony and Dr. Melfi, who's also having her own issues. Um, at his own session with Dr. Melfi, Tony tells her that he had a very successful week and gives her a bonus on top of her week's remittance. Melfi senses that Tony is being dishonest in part and tries to refuse the extra money, but Tony insists on leaving the cash. Not necessarily, you don't have to take it, but I'm not taking it back.
Right.
Melfi then answers her son's phone call. She confesses that she hates all of them, referring to her patient for lying to her. Her son tells her that he needs to buy some expensive books for college, and Dr. Melfi looks down at the extra cash that Tony left. So she's like, again, I feel like there's parts of her, especially since her attack and her rape.
Mm-hmm.
There's parts of her that just want to push all of it aside, and she talks about it with her own therapist. Like, she knows she's in deep,
Right.
but there's always something that comes up. This is her. We talked about it in a previous episode. This is her get out of hell free card if she wanted it. But also, it's that I know it's like the child with the stove. I know it's hot, but I just have to keep going back and touching it. But to her, she justifies it. Well, the son needs books, and then this is going to have. There's always going to be something that you can justify.
It's interesting to see now we're looking at the three women, and there's always going to be at least three women in Tony's life. Before it was his mother, his wife, and his therapist. Now, we're talking about his wife, his therapist, and his Gumar for now, right? So Carmella appreciates the benefits from what Tony does for a living, but hates what he does for a living. She's gotten a blind eye to it.
Right.
Gloria is fascinated by the violence of what he does for a living, but hates how that interferes with her time with him.
Right.
And then you got Dr. Melfi, who they can't talk about it. She recognizes that they can't talk about it, and it pisses her off because she can't do her work. But I think a small portion of Dr. Melfi is drawn to who Tony is on its truest level, and he is a freaking criminal. I think that in another world, had they not met in the doctor-patient capacity, then it is not outside of the realm of possibility to believe that Dr. Melfi and Tony could be together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But at the same time, we see and she sees, even though Tony doesn't see it. I think he sometimes gets glimpses. She realizes this. She realizes all of this. And again, it's like the child with the stove. You have to go up and touch it, but you're not caressing it. You're not. It's just an occasional, just a touch. Just one of those things. And you talked about it. It's like there's always a triangle with Tony of women. Starting out, it was his mother, it was Carmella, and then there was his Gumar on the side. But she was like, of the trilogy, she was like the little insignificant thing.
Right.
And then when Dr. Melfi comes in, slowly she's pushing Irena out because he's got to have the triple. But Dr. Melfi steps up because she makes him realize this relationship, this dysfunctional relationship with his mom.
Right.
And also with Carmella. And Carmella also realizes it because she, starts to have problems. She talked to Father Phil about it. I always looked at it as a form of masturbation.
Yep.
And all of that until she can't ignore it anymore. And his mom, our thing that we always get about, a therapist?
A therapist?
No.
What are you talking about?
Right. But now as happens in real life, mom passes away,
Right.
leaving a lot of baggage there.
Yeah.
Dr. Melfi's still there. Carmella's still there, and Tony is like, he can't play. He's not going to, I don't think he would ever play literal Russian roulette, but he's got to have that danger. And what's more so than a woman that he knows has issues because of where he met her,
Right.
but he's also attracted to that professionalism there. Yeah. And you could have a brief flirtation with someone, Tony being the type of guy, he's turned on by that. Then you can go see her at her thing. But let's say she was just totally different there and it turned him off. And he's like, I was just going to look at a car, but I'll think about it and let you know. And then he could leave,
Right.
but no, she gets the vibe that they're having. They've got something going on there.
Right.
And she picks up on that and she's like, oh, you're crazy? I'm crazy too. Let's juggle. Let's get this chainsaw going on. Let's light it on fire.
Let's be crazy.
And Tony's like, I just wanted, how I don't know, did you ever learn how to juggle? And they started to teach us in PE. I was never any good at it, but they start you off on like little handkerchiefs and stuff like that. Before you graduate to the balls, you're learning the movements. Tony's like, hey, let's get a couple of handkerchiefs and just pass it back. We're just playing toss. And she's like, but I got all these chainsaws here and I got all this lighter fluid.
Let's just do something real simple. Right, we can. But I have all these knives. So
right.
Yeah.
And a show that we're going to eventually get to, folks, because we got to. I'm just flashing back to Arrested Development. George Sr. talking about crazy. You don't get rid of crazy. You can't fire crazy. But I did.
Fire crazy. Oh, man, you keep crazy close. Oh, God. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Oh, goodness. Oh, and hey, folks, that's a little preview of our next group of episodes because we're going to get a Arrested Development veteran right before he started Arrested Development.
Big fact.
In fact, I bet they probably sent him the pilot script while he was doing this, but that's for next episode. Now this is classic AJ. If I didn't know anything and you just told me about AJ, I could have predicted what's going to happen next. On the night of Carmella's birthday, AJ and some of his friends break into their high school and swim in the pool. When they are finished swimming, a few people begin to throw things from the gym teacher's room in the pool, which escalates to garbage can and trophies obtained when one of AJ's friends smashes the glass trophy case. Later at the crime scene, the police find a pizza whose box has a recognizable logo. They question the owner of the pizza parlor. This guy, my favorite character. I'm looking for those minor characters. The last episode, it was Janice's latest narcoleptic boyfriend. This guy is this thing. He's like, was there something wrong with the pizza? What's going on here? Did my pizza commit a crime?
He didn't want them there. He didn't want. He was what?
He said it's a special order. He's like, I know that order. Upon being threatened with legal action if he withholds the name of the customer, the owner reveals it was the Soprano family's standing order. AJ is sent home due to his involvement with the vandalism. And his parents attend a parent conference with the high school principal and AJ's football coach the next day. The principal expels AJ, but due to his importance on the football team and purportedly his academic record.
Right. He brought it up to a C-. And we've recognized that because of a study done at Harvard, that children shouldn't be removed from sport.
Now, Tony Soprano, the guy before, when they called him in on what AJ was doing, was like, yeah, he doesn't have the ADD or what. Tony Soprano does not believe what's going on here.
Right. He's not for it.
Not feeling that so they put OJ on probation.
Right.
Not feeling that the school's punishment was harsh enough, Tony and Carmella ground AJ for a month with no television, DVDs, computer, or Nintendo, and forced AJ to clean out the rain gutters. Now, if his grandmother was still alive, he'd be having to do some time over there.
Oh, yeah. He'd be going to Green Grove.
No. She was back at her home.
So that's right. She was back at home. So
he'd be over there with her and Svetlana.
One thing I got to say about this scene, because I would be remiss if I did not mention it. I usually throw a lot of love to the casting done on these shows.
Right.
Did it not seem that they took the prototypical high school coach from any show and just put him in a priest outfit? Like that's he's good for the team. But
they said we need a typical high school. They called the agents. Those low-level agents. They work for the big companies, but they're not in the corner office. They up front with the cubicles.
The cubicles.
Call your clients. Get out your client list. We need a typical high school football coach. Oh, I got this. Make sure that they can wear a priest outfit. Well, that's a little strange, but I bet Bob can do this. You're exactly right. I'm sorry, I'm coaching football. Because this guy's like, what's my motivation? You coach football, but you're also a priest.
Right, which is why he has on his priest outfit and a windbreaker.
Which was his idea, by the way.
100%.
I coach football. How will they know? And the guy, the director leaned forward. Bob's got a point. Bob, I'm giving you an extra line in this thing.
Hey, anybody got a whistle? Put a whistle on him.
Bob, you think you can accurately talk about a study done at Harvard? Are you kidding me? I used to do Shakespeare in the Park.
Good stuff. Jesus.
But look, I'd have doubled it for 2 months when AJ's like, what's a rain gutter?
Bro.
You can't figure it out. You can't figure it out.
And they're explaining it to him, and he's just purposely trying not to. I don't know. And I'm just like, you know what? Par for the course, man. Par for the course. Because what has he done other than show us that he is completely oblivious to everything going on outside of his peephole? If it's not inside that circle, he does not care about it.
Because he was like, I bet he was like, okay, Mom, or somebody Meadow told him, Mom's birthday's coming up. You got to get her something. You want her credit card or do you want some cash? And he's like, give me the cash. So he's got enough money. He's like, the Matrix. I know Mom will like that because I know that he's like, I like it. Mom's going to like it and all of that.
Mom likes everything I like.
I'm just happy Ralphie didn't take him because, Carmella would have gotten a copy of the Gladiator. Or Gladiator. It wasn't the Gladiator.
Gladiator. Big time facts. Ralphie is the huge. His Facebook handle is @GladiatorFan, like 2021. Like I just he's the hugest Russell Crowe fan ever.
I'm gonna take a slight detour here because I know that you're a King of the Hill fan. Who is it that Luck is a fan of? Is it Bob Skaggs?
Bob Skaggs.
Where they're waiting in line for the tickets, and there's like one other guy in line.
Line starts here.
That would be Ralphie at Gladiator Fest. The convention around Gladiator.
The ticket box doesn't open for 2 weeks. He doesn't care. He is posted up with his loaf of bread, Somebody will come with some ham, and then we got a party. Right, but I got to go to the bathroom. The line don't recognize the bathroom. Well, why does he get to leave? The line recognizes the school. The children are our future. Come on.
Ralphie got his hot plate. He got his gravy. He put some butter in there. Gonna mix it up.
Put the heat back on it. So the gravy for 45 seconds.
Got a little gravy.
He slams it down. And also, since we talk about this cat got guns all over the house. All over. This man goes to the loaf of bread. I'm pretty sure he's got one under the eggs. He's like, yo, you can have that 38. I got another one under the bed. Like, this dude has got Rosalie's house strapped to the nines, buddy. Oh, man.
And you know Ro loves her son, and you know Ro at least likes Jackie, likes having him around. But in the back of Ro's head, it won't like this when Jackie was. she's walking. She's walking through. It won't like this when Jackie was alive.
I don't like that.
Because she's probably thinking to herself, Jackie didn't mess up all my pots, because he ain't gonna clean them. He ain't gonna clean them. He's gonna leave a sink full of dishes.
Slamming them pots.
Oh goodness! The DeMeo family takes over the Lollipop Club, a nightclub in Long Branch, New Jersey. Christopher gives the club to Adriana to manage, and she renames it Crazy Horse. Christopher tells her that she'll be the figurehead owner-manager, and that the previous owner will work for her, as he ruined himself financially betting on a Minnesota Vikings game and had to give up his business as a result. Furio and Christopher own a large percentage as silent partners. Christopher also sees the club as an opportunity for the gang to run their business in a safe environment without FBI interference. FBI will take care of that in just a few episodes' time, but we'll get there. However, at the opening, an ecstasy dealer named Matouche is caught conducting his business in the bathroom and is soon thrown out. Furio warns him to stay off the property. Jackie Jr. steps in to help his friend and asks Christopher to let Matouche continue his dealing inside the club. Christopher flatly refuses. Not wanting to be embarrassed, Jackie lies to Matouche and tells him that Christopher approved Matouche is making deals, but only outside the club.
Outside.
Homeboy over there, he done set up. He's like, what y'all want? I got everything. You need DVD?
Everything. Furio, what's the matter? You know, like us? I'm like, come on, Furio. Why you gotta do him like that?
And so Matouche does so and severely beaten by Furio and his men.
Broke his jaw.
While they prepare dinner at Rosalie's house, Jackie asks Ralphie for a piece, and without much questioning from Ralphie, is given a 38. Ralphie's more concerned because he's timing it in his head.
Right.
He ain't got no stopwatch. There's no timer on there. He's just
nope. Stirring the mess out that thing. And he explains it to him. It's because you want the gravy to infuse with the noodles instead of just to coat the noodles. Yeah. We heard you, Ralphie.
But he's saying this like Jackie Jr. is over there with a pen and a notepad taking.
Jackie wasn't paying no attention, but Ralphie didn't care. Because what we just saw was the teaser trailer for a spinoff that didn't go well, straight to AMC, Ralphie's Kitchen. That was the trailer, the teaser trailer that we were supposed to see, because he had to tell us how to make the noodles, man. And yeah, Jackie Jr. could care less. He was only thinking about trying to get that gun from him because he had pissed off Tony. And he wanted to make sure he was strapped. Nah, man. Look, Ralphie's Kitchen coming to you in 2022.
He wanted that spot after the Sopranos.
That's it.
Today they would do the show where they talk about each episode, but back then, I need a good 30 minutes. We'll make a dish. We'll talk about Gladiator some, and then we may mention the episode.
We'll talk about Gladiator a little bit in every episode.
He's like, now, Jackie, what did you think of Russell Crowe? And but Jackie, both as an actor and as a character, he's confused. He's like, I just wanted a piece. I need a. Can I take this one over here? No, you take this. You take that.
Slap. 45 seconds on the fire. Da-dun, dun, dun, dun. Ralphie's Kitchen.
Quick aside. 8 years ago, my uncle was in the hospital, and my aunt had been with him off and on, like every day. You know, she comes up and stays with him. She calls my father up and it's like, Carol, can you go and just sit with him? I just got stuff I got to do. And I mean, he was at the hospital in Raleigh. It was about an hour away. My dad had a job, and so gets chosen. And so I go and we're talking, but he also wants to watch his afternoon shows. I guess that my uncle was long retired by this time. I guess he had just gotten into a habit of watching The Chew and The View and The Revolution and The Talk Back. I don't know what they were all called. I think this was The Chew, though, because it was, and they had John Bon Jovi in there with his father, and they were making sauce.
Okay.
And then, so the host, one of the hosts, she asked him, do you all call it sauce or do you all call it gravy? And he goes, we're from the part of New Jersey where we call it sauce. There is a definite part of Jersey where they call it gravy.
I have heard a lot of people call it gravy. The first time I heard it called gravy by a truly authentic down-home Italian family, it caught me off guard because they're like, hey, do you want some gravy? I'm, fuck no, I don't want any gravy. What is this? Because when I think, about gravy,
you're thinking like sausage gravy or maybe beef gravy, turkey gravy, and all that. And that don't go on the pasta. It
doesn't. Off the top of the head, bro, there's two. Now, there are multiple gravies, but off the top of the head, there's two. There's your brown gravy, and then there's your sausage gravy, which is a white pepper gravy, neither of which go with spaghetti noodles. So, yeah, it caught me off guard at first, but then when I realized the cultural breakdown, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So now, now when they talk about gravy, I know what they're talking about. But yeah, for a while, I was just like,
And they're over there. TJ just over there eating some dry pasta. He's like, can I have some sauce? You go eat in the kitchen.
Oh, man. I just put a little pesto on my pasta.
You go in the kitchen and Ralphie's over there.
Over there staring. I'm like, can I get a gabagool?
45 seconds in your head. You're like, one Mississippi, two Mississippi, three.
Right.
Which is how I do it. I do Mississippi. So I don't know what you do.
Mississippi. Yeah. I count and take a breath.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm even bobbing a little bit, and I stopped counting because that's where I stopped. I went to public school.
All right. So we're up to almost 39 minutes on just the first episode of the full, but that's okay. There's a lot of stuff. Pine Barrens is coming, folks. This might be a 3-hour video. Carmella is concerned about Meadow's relationship with Jackie Jr., but Tony assures Carmella that Jackie has his act together and will treat Meadow with respect. And I feel like Tony really thought that, but darn it, Jackie Jr. is not doing everything he can to do the opposite.
To ruin it, 100%.
Carmella must hide her true feelings and remain friends with Rosalie April, who is ecstatic about the arrangement. Meadow writes Jackie's English assignment, a paper on Edgar Allan Poe, and he receives an A. After Tony has a heart-to-heart with Jackie and stresses how, although he has always expected the best out of Jackie, this is different and far more serious now that Meadow is involved.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie promises Tony that he will work hard and be faithful to Meadow, maintaining credit for the paper that he left to Meadow to write for him. Tony warns Jackie that he will be keeping an eye on him. Tony then runs into Jackie at a local illegal casino, angrily scolding him and telling him to stay away and focus on his schoolwork if he wants to continue seeing Meadow. The next morning at breakfast, Carmella tells Tony that Jackie took Meadow to see Aida in New York City, which makes her rethink her original impression of Jackie, as he is on his best behavior around the Soprano residents and even bonds with AJ, mentoring him in football.
He took Meadow to the city to see Aida. He ate her? Like, Tony was not ready for that one, man. Well, he ate her. Like, no. It's culture. It's culture. Yeah, that's light humor in the Soprano household. He ate her.
To me, I always enjoy those kitchen scenes because I know Tony's going to reach for a box of cereal, usually honeycombs.
Yep.
Big honeycomb fan. Soprano household.
Not so much over here. I have to say that's where me and Tony differ. I've eaten some honeycombs, but I don't know that I'm as big a fan as Tony.
What's your go-to cereal?
See, I've got there are parameters. Is this kid cereal or am I adulting?
If you woke up tomorrow, which one would you want?
Captain Crunch with some marshmallows.
Okay.
And they don't make Captain Crunch with marshmallows. And if they did make Captain Crunch with marshmallows, I'm not buying that kind. I'm buying the traditional Captain Crunch or Captain Crunch berries, but I'm putting some of the small hot chocolate sized marshmallows in it. It keeps you from destroying the roof of your mouth.
Oh, Captain Crunch by itself will tear the roof of your mouth apart.
Yeah, you won't even have a top of the mouth anymore.
I can respect that.
Black hole there.
Now the next day, when you're recovering from the sugar spike and you got to treat the top of your mouth a little bit better, and you're adulting, what adult cereal do you go for?
There's a Cheerios Medley, is what it's called. It's essentially oat clusters, Cheerios, like a honey nut Cheerio with the flakes, and just a whole bunch of nonsense thrown into a box. But it's really high in fiber, and that's all I should have to say.
Yeah. My neighbors growing up, the ones that love the Sopranos, I've talked about them many times. I consider them to be like my grandparents. So the man who was like my grandfather, big fan of Raisin Bran Crunch. That's what he had for breakfast every day.
I've heard about the Raisin Bran Crunch, and I know we're getting off topic. We need to start talking back about the Sopranos because this next episode we get to bring back in Big Pussy. So why don't we want to talk about that? But ultimately we got on this topic because Tony likes honeycombs, and no, it's like Kix, but it's shaped different.
That was, if anybody asked me 20 years from now, ask me, I'll tell you what the most successful ad campaign ever was Kix cereal, because they convinced me that stuff was good. I finally convinced my mother to buy it for me. Get outside, I ripped open that box because I had to couldn't wait for some milk. Got a handful of disappointment is what I got.
A handful of broken dreams. you got the biggest life lesson. You got to make better life choices, bro.
And after that, my mother made me finish that box. Like, not that night, but she's like, "We're gonna add this to milk for a few days, and maybe next time you'll listen." And I'm like, lesson learned.
Yeah, Kix, and that's the thing. Is like I could eat it if I was mixing it with something else.
Sure,
I'm never gonna eat Kix by itself. But then also take into consideration, I come from the '80s, baby. I know about King Vitamin. Okay, so
you can't tell me nothing about no King Vitamin. We talk, folks, and if you're not listening, you should. The Joey Harris Show podcast. In the last episode we did together, we talked about that Sweet Baby Ray's. And that thing, but you talking about somebody hadn't changed their box in 50 years. That man been dead. That man been dead longer than we've been alive. But he just sitting up there smiling, just as happy. He, with his crown, he is King Vitamin. His great grandchildren living off of his name.
Living off that money, man. King Vitamin. If you've never had it or never seen it, if you want me to describe it to you, King Vitamin is the dangers of Captain Crunch without the reward. That's the best way that I can explain it to you. There's no sugar in King Vitamin. I mean, shit, his name is King Vitamin. All right? What do you expect?
You turned the box over and said, listen, truth in advertising. We didn't say King got a little bit of sugar and we threw a vitamin in there. We said King Vitamin.
Put some respect on his name.
And if you lift it up, underneath it said what cornflakes aspires to be one day.
Right? God,
if
no.
you just got, look, I had started going almost 2 years ago now. We were in the midst of the first wave of COVID where everything was shut down. But they were starting to open things up one day. And I was starting my health kick. So I get up every morning and I go on for a long walk. But I found halfway through, I would get sick if I didn't eat something. And so my wife is like, I'm going to Target. I got to wait in line because they were only letting in so many people.
Right.
And so she said, you want some cereal? I said, oh, some cereal would be good. I can have a little bowl of cereal before I go out. And I was craving just plain cornflakes. I don't want any frosted flakes, just plain cornflakes. She gets in there. She gets on the cereal aisle and calls me. What do you want? Plain cornflakes. You want the cornflakes, the Kellogg's brand? It can be the Target brand. I want cornflakes. Right. Well, I think Total has their version of cornflakes. I said, just corn, just plain cornflakes. If I wanted to get a little fancy, I put a little just sprinkling of sugar on it. It's not Frosted Flakes. I don't want the sugar rush. Right. I just need a little something on my stomach and something like that. That's not King Vitamin. King Vitamin is, he's like, you could throw sugar on it if you want to, but I think King Vitamin would throw it back.
You put sugar on King Vitamin and you eat the cereal and the sugar sitting at the bottom of the bowl.
It made that glaze. That even Krispy Kreme is like, I think that's a little bit too much.
That's just too much sugar. What have you been doing? Oh, you know me, just eating some King Vitamin. Oh, man, we got off topic, but I got to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching what we're watching. This portion is brought to you by King Vitamin. All the fun of Captain Crunch without the reward. King Vitamin!
And folks, if anybody from King Vitamin is watching this, we are proud to take up a sponsorship. Next episode, we'll both hold up the thing.
Send the check.
Say, folks, we misspoke. We had both had eating a bowl of. He goes, I did misspeak. King Vitamin's the best cereal ever.
It's funny how much a check changes things, right? I talk cash shit about King Vitamin, but I promise you, if they get in contact between now and the next time we record, the story would be completely different. Very similar to what Jackie Jr. did to Tony.
There's an episode of Cheers where Rebecca, the bar manager, she goes to an ad agency because she wants a commercial and a jingle for Cheers to get more business. Mm-hmm. And the guy says, all right, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And she goes, I've got this much money to spend. He says, somebody wake up Cy Flimbeck and bring him in here. And it's an older guy. It's actually the guy who ends up playing Frasier's dad on Frasier. And he comes in here, he goes, so it's time to get rid of Flimbeck, huh? And he just balls out. He goes, no, Cy, I got a job for you. And Cy says, you didn't let me finish. That's going to be us with King Vitamin. You didn't let us
He
finish.
didn't let us finish. I love this stuff.
It's great cereal. Who needs all that sugar anyway? Is what we're
Right.
saying.
Come on now. Let's be healthier. King Vitamin.
So I'm gonna pull this thing back on track here. The title reference is a play on Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Telltale Heart. Mozzarella is a rough Italian-American slang for mozzarella cheese, which is commonly used on pizza, but can also be used as a derogatory name for an Italian man, according to Michael Imperioli. The title also refers to Jackie Jr.'s dishonest dealing with Tony and Matouche, and has also refers to Jackie's essay on Edgar Allan Poe, which Meadow wrote for him.
Telltale Heart, yeah.
And the title is doing some major work in this episode. Also refers to AJ's custom-made pizza with extra mozzarella cheese. Leaving the pizza at the high school led to the police to determine that AJ and his friends were responsible for the vandalism.
Mm-hmm.
So, this next episode, to save us all from Satan's power, I contacted you December of last year. I was driving to North Carolina. My wife had flown down there a few days earlier. Our friend Michelle and I were driving down later. I was on my way to Michelle's house to pick her up so that we could get the heck out of Dodge because it was starting to snow, and I'll be darned if I was going to stay in Maine another second longer than I had to. I was trying to get ahead of the snow. And I was listening to music, and the song God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, which that's where the line comes from, to save us all from Satan's power comes in. And I was thinking about you and I doing a show for YouTube. And I'm like, what should we start? Let's start with The Sopranos. So when I came across this, I'm like, ooh, it's really, really deep. And I could tell you where I could show you, if you were here, I could show you where I was at on the road. Because I take a turn, and I had the best light quality because I was just ahead of the snow, but it was starting, but you could see the sun was starting to set. It was just beautiful and all of that. But 10th episode of season 3, 36th overall episode, written by Robin Green and Mitchell Burgess and directed by Jack Bender, originally aired on April the 29th, 2001. Before meeting Polly Walnuts on the boardwalk at Asbury Park, Tony flashes back to the winter holidays of '95 when he first noticed Pussy was acting strangely. When Tony asks if Polly feels guilty about murdering him on the boat, Polly claims that he does not regret it for a second and would do it again. When Tony brings up the topic up again at the pork store, Silvio Dante begins having nightmares regarding Pussy. Further reminiscence is prompted when Silvio and Polly have to find a replacement for their former friend to play Santa Claus at the Satrielli's Christmas party, a tradition set up by Tony's father. It was revealed that Mr. Satrielli's gambling had caught up with him, and the elder soprano engaged in bankruptcy fraud, causing Satrielli to commit suicide. After Soprano bought the butcher shop, he started an annual Christmas party to alleviate the gloom caused by the news of Satrielli's death and give back to the children of the neighborhood. The mobsters at the pork store first try to get Tony to play Santa on account of his girth, but when he refuses, they pick Bobby Bacala for the part. Unlike Big Pussy, who back in his day could play Santa Claus at the Christmas party to everyone's liking, Bobby's shyness and bluntness do not go well with this role. Poor Bobby. Poor Bobby.
I told you I was shy.
He just has not had a good run. I mean, his father dies. After a child swears at Bobby, Tony tells Bobby to be more cheerful.
Told you
Angry
curse
that Bobby made a bad Santa, Tony remarks that next year they're enrolling Bobby in a Santa school to learn how to handle children. When Tony is mulling over Pussy's betrayal and death, he remembers the time when Pussy missed a sit down to mediate peace between Jackie, April, and Junior Soprano he himself had previously set up in Boca in '95, Tony thinks it was this night when the FBI coerced him into cooperation after catching him selling heroin. Later, Tony has a flashback from a Christmas party, presumably from 95. He believes the FBI made him wear a wire when he dressed up as Santa. At the party, Pussy quizzed Tony about business and got touchy when one of the guys tried to give him a friendly hug. However, Tony's thoughts that Pussy was an informant at this time are assumed to be incorrect, as Skip Lipari of the FBI mentions how Pussy had been with them since 98 in a previous episode in the second season. Paula ends that flashback and says to Tony, even if he did make a good Santa, let him sleep with the fishes. Your thoughts?
So, this episode as essentially a flashback episode.
Right.
It's cool. Only thing is, why I like this episode is because it's flashing back on stuff that we hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting the young Jackie Jr. With Jackie Sr. there, you know, at the party, seeing Big Pussy with his son. You know, he walks in slowly, seeming almost like he was drunk, and I'm sitting there like, okay, that would make sense. You know, he's drunk because he doesn't necessarily want to do this. And then when he's having the conversation with Tony and trying to get him to talk about incriminating stuff, you hear Christopher's voice come over, and then boom, you know, Big Pussy loses it. You know, I'm trying to talk, you know, and looking back on it, we talked about this last episode, hindsight being what it is, you know, you're able to sit back and look and see the warning flags, because even if it didn't happen in 95, we saw the problem created by all of his kids now being in college. And Jackie Sr. says, look, if you need money, you come to me. Stop with the H. They told him that then. Yep. And he obviously didn't, because he wants to be able to provide for his family. And boom, you know, and that's what happened from it. But Bobby is Santa. It's funny, they rag on Bobby so much, you know, for being big. Tony's not a small guy, you know, but nobody's going to tell Tony that, you know. I mean, obviously, when they offered it to him, they offered it with them kind of tongue in cheek, Seals just holding it up kind of cute, you know, walking, come on, Skip, you know, like trying to get, I can't do Seal. I would love to, but I can't.
No, yeah.
I can't do Seal. But, yeah, Tony didn't want anything to do with it. And that's obviously because he's got everything in the world going on in his head. So, you know, yeah, I'm sorry for Bobby, man, because yeah, that kid saying "fuck you, Santa," bro. You know.
Meanwhile, my favorite part of this episode, Janice Soprano announces that she will cook Christmas dinner since she feels guilty about always being served by Carmella. When Janice tells Tony that her wrist is becoming hard to manage, she reminds him about her encounter with the Russian thugs who arrived to take back Svetlana's prosthetic leg. Tony adds to his Christmas to-do list an entry, Janice is Russian.
Yes, because of Svetlana and her leg. I do not have your leg.
As a favor to Tony, a member of the local Russian mob who launders money for him gives Tony the name of Janice's attacker, Igor, in his place of employment, a taxi firm for which he drives a cab. The following evening, Tony and Furio get into Igor's taxi, beat him, and throw him through a glass window of a mall display where the beaten Igor is later found wearing a Christmas hat and lying under a Santa sled decoration. The following day on the news, this is what I was laughing at because I was trying to remember it. Mr. He is risen himself, Janice's narcoleptic boyfriend. He's over there trying to, he's passed out.
Passing out.
The reporter presenting the story says a youth street gang is suspected to be responsible. When Janice sees this on television, she becomes emotional, wakes up her narcoleptic boyfriend, Aaron, and mentions that what's missing from their contemporary Christian music song they are trying to write is the brother concept.
The brother concept.
He ain't heavy. He ain't heavy.
So, my dude, that got me weak, Aaron.
Yeah.
He's sitting there trying to play on the keyboard. Janice is going to town on that guitar. And then all of a sudden, her wrist hurts. I thought that was quite funny, right? But if you watch Aaron, as soon as Tony and Carmella knock on the door, he just pass clean out. I thought that was the funniest doggone thing, man. That caught me by surprise, man. That was a good one. And now my dog thinks somebody's knocking at the house, so it starts barking again.
So, was this the episode where Jackie Jr. says we met at Thanksgiving?
No. That was a couple episodes ago. But yeah, have you heard the good news? We met at Thanksgiving.
At Nuovo Vesuvio, the newly separated Charmaine Bucco has started to wear revealing clothing. Charmaine, not Carmella.
That's
a mix between her and Carm. Charmaine just letting it all hang out, is she not?
She is. She got the girls on full display, and as we said in the previous seasons, you know, Charmaine is not an unattractive woman.
No.
You know, she's built. You know, and I don't want to be too unprofessional here, but she's built like I like.
She is. It's blessed. She's blessed.
Yeah, she's definitely been eating the gobble goat. All right,
but also, like we've said about her a couple times, she knows what she's doing. She's getting the compliments from several mob members as Tony, Paulie, and Silvio are eat dinner. Charmaine walks over to the table where she jokes to Tony that she believes the people at the next table are FBI.
Laughs in his face.
Silvio becomes offended by this, and Artie apologizes. The following day, Tony meets up with Charmaine at the coat check where she tells him that she does not want him and his boys there all the time, and that he ruined their marriage. He did.
The part that I got from that, more than the conversation that, you know, she was having with Tony, is Tony's people. You know, you talk about often, you know, something happened to your car when we first met, you know, and I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Tony has this conversation with Charmaine, goes back, hey, it's time to go seal. Well, I've been wanting to check out the competition all the way, like he was ready to go. I was wanting to check out the competition anyway, as he's packing his stuff and getting out. Yeah, that's Seal is Road Dog 2020.
Oh, absolutely. And folks, we talked about this week over text. Silvio is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. He is just the man. The trio check out the Bada Bing's rival strip club where they spot Jackie Jr. getting a lap dance from a stripper. Like, not long after he had just had this conversation with Tony Soprano. Infuriated, Tony drags him into the bathroom where he shoves, punches, and slaps him, drawing blood from his nose. After confiscating Jackie's gun, which he got from Ralphie in the previous episode, Tony finally knees Jackie in the groin and tells him, "You bottomed out."
Bottomed out.
On Christmas morning, the Sopranos open their gift when Jackie Jr. arrives with presents from Rosalie. He then gives Meadow a necklace with the engraving, "To MS from J.A., I will always be true."
I will always be true.
To Tony's irritation. Now I'm going to say this. If I'm in that situation, I'm not saying that I would have done what Jackie had done. I might have done the same thing. If I'm raised up like Jackie, I'm just, I'm a stupid kid. But having had just what happened, Mom, can you run those presents? I'm not scared about that. Or call Meadow, hey, you want to come over later? I got your present here for you. I'm steering a wide path around Tony Soprano.
Look, I'm thinking that Jackie figured that because it was Christmas morning, that nothing's going to happen amongst the family. I'm going in not empty-handed. I'm going in hat in hand, because he did apologize, even though obviously we see what that apology meant. coming from Jackie Jr., but still, he apologized. He had gifts in hand. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I would have avoided.
Right. As Tony goes to the kitchen, Jackie follows. Now I'm gonna say this: that took a lot of guts on Jackie's part. Jackie confesses to him that he flunked out of Rutgers, but that he wants to enter the men's fashion business and that he still wants to be supportive and loving to Meadow. Jackie then leaves, saying he has to drive his mother to visit his grandmother. Returning to his family to continue unwrapping presents, Tony has to fake a happy face when he finds that Meadow has bought him a big mouth Billy Bass. The singing fish looking so similar to the one in his dream he had earlier that year, the dream that made him first realize that Pussy had been a turncoat. So we got a lot of references to previous episodes. The episode's title is taken from the verse of the Christmas carol, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. The Big Mouth Billy Bass included the song Take Me to the River, was previously featured in the episode Second Opinion. The Asbury Park Boardwalk in Winter, along with the view of the sea closing the episode, was previously featured in Funhouse. In 1995, Big Pussy mentioned that he always dreamed of having a house on the ocean and said maybe in another life. This is ironic because Tony, Silvio, and Paulie dumped his body in the ocean after shooting him on Tony's yacht in the episode Funhouse. In the 1995 flashback scene involving a television, reports of the O.J. Simpson murder trial were seen. When Janice says their song is missing the brother concept, Aaron asks, he ain't heavy? Oh, Aaron. In one scene in Tony and Carmella's bedroom, they were watching the film It's a Wonderful Life on television. In the back room at Satriel's, Tony, Christopher, Silvio, and Paulie discuss several holiday icons, including Santa Claus, his elves, and the Dr. Seuss book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Christopher claimed that the Grinch is where the money is. He also references Jim Carrey in The Grinch. Tony's deductions about Big Pussy's betrayal timeline conflict with previous information that we learned from Skip. Also, just before his execution in 2000, he admits to Tony, perhaps truthfully, that he's been working for the FBI for a year and a half. It is possible that Tony was just being paranoid about the events of 95, because he's like, he comes already dressed in the suit. Well, he could have just come dressed in the suit, and now Tony's paranoia is just cranking up, and he's seeing things everywhere, even though they probably may not have been there. In his only cameo appearance in the series, director of cinematography Alek Sakharov plays Russian mob bookkeeper Agron. Like the character, Sakharov is also of Russian heritage. And then a remix version of The Little Drummer Boy plays at the rival strip club where Tony beats up Jackie Jr., the Little Drummer Boy. Rum-pum-pum-pum.
Bum-bum-bum.
All right, folks. This is, even though it's not the last episode, we're not going to be talking about this. Is the meat of the episode here. Pine Barrens, the 11th episode of season 3, the 37th overall episode of the series. Its teleplay was written by Terrence Winter from a story idea by Winter and Tim Van Patten. First of 4 episodes of the series directed by Steve Buscemi and originally aired on May 6th, 2001. After not being in the previous episode, we find that Tony is on the outs with Gloria when on the Stugatz, he receives a call from his former mistress, Irina, who has a long history of drunk dialing. However, it is Gloria who answers first. And Tony continues Irina's lie about the call being from AJ's school, but then decides to come clean. Gloria asks Tony to explain his deceit, and he lets slip that he doesn't want to piss her off and just wanted to be honest. Gloria is furious with Tony and throws his Christmas present into the marina and leaves. However, the pair manage to reconcile later when Gloria presents Tony with a gift, a djellaba she bought from Morocco, and they sleep together. After Silvio catches the flu, Tony asks Paul and Christopher to make his collections, one in particular from a member of the Russian mob, Valery in Fairlawn, Tempers flare when Paulie, unprovoked and already angry because he doesn't want to make Silvio's pickup, mocks the Russian and deliberately destroys his universal remote control by dropping it, feigning it as an accident. Valeria insults Paulie, prompting him to attack the seated Russian. Christopher had tried to stop Paulie from acting out, but he jumps in on Paulie's side.
Mhm.
Now, I always thought, I knew like the overall, like the bare bones of the episode going in, I always thought that they go and he doesn't have the money. But he's got the money.
He's got the
It's
money.
there. It's there.
There
He's
was no
waiting for
need
the
for it.
pickup. Yeah, no need for it. It's there. It's on the envelope. You can even count it. It's all there. No problem.
Yep.
All they have to do is get the money, say
And leave.
thanks, don't be late again, or have a good life and leave. But Paul is already angry that he has to make Silvio's
I'm the
pickup.
captain.
Yeah. The three men fight, and eventually Paulie chokes Valeria with a floor lamp, severely injuring him and apparently cracking his windpipe. The situation causes the mafiosi to panic, and they wrap Valeria in a carpet before wheeling him out to their car. Thus starts the comedy of errors that comes along here. While trying to figure out what to do with the body, Paulie suggests that they take it to the Pine Barrens, as it will be deserted and is in close proximity to Atlantic City. Christopher, who has not yet eaten, which will come up again, wants to stop for breakfast at Roy Rogers, which is littered up and down. If you've ever been on the turnpike, you can get a Roy Rogers. But Paula insists that business must come first and will soon be completed, and then they can eat.
Right.
In the woods, Christopher and Paulie open the trunk to find that Valeria is still alive and has chewed through the duct tape. They lift him out of the car, present him with a shovel, and force him to dig his own grave. Now, I'm going to say this. At this point, if I'm Valeria, I know it's over. If I'm digging my own grave, I'm going to die.
Right.
But damn, if I'm going to dig my own grave, you're going to shoot me, just shoot me now.
You just going to shoot me. I am not putting in all that work. The last thing that I'm doing is not going to be digging a grave. And it's not even in my nature now. But if I'm in that situation, the last thing you're going to hear from me is some shit talk. I am going to piss you off to the point to where you're going to kill me right then. I'm not digging my own grave.
That or, yeah, give me the shovel. And then I start just swinging.
And I'm swinging.
Yes.
He played it smooth. He's like,
he did.
I'm going to dig. And he dug. And then, when the opportunity presented itself, he handled business.
When the pair are distracted, Valeria smacks them with the shovel, delivering a blow to Christopher's head and a jab to Paulie's groin before fleeing. Christopher and Paulie draw their guns and give chase, but are amazed when Paulie shoots Valeria, clearly hitting part of his head.
Clearly hitting him in the head. Clearly.
And the Russian immediately gets up and runs into the woods.
Keeps on running.
Just like Rasputin, which they will talk about. They try to track his blood and footprints in the snow, but are eventually left with no clues. Still on the hunt, the pair hear something and run, firing some shots. Paulie slips down a slope and loses his shoe.
I lost my shoe.
They discovered that they killed the deer.
Couldn't have done it if we were trying.
So we know that they can kill something, just not a Russian running into the woods.
And kill a Russian.
They try to return to Paulie's car but cannot find it and soon realize they are lost in the woods. Paulie uses his cell phone to call Tony for help, but communication is limited by poor reception, interference, and crosstalk. Tony learns from Valeria's boss. Like, how can we make this worse? And best friend Slava, that although he's developed substance abuse problems, he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy. Since Valeria has previously been in the Russian Ministry of the Interior Special Forces and once killed 16 Chechen rebels single-handed. However, the poor phone signal between Tony and Paulie results in a mix-up. Paulie passes the message on that Valeria killed 16 Czechoslovakians.
Killed 16 Czechoslovakians. And he's an interior decorator.
Decorator.
What? This house looks like shit. The writing there, and I didn't even really pay attention to the fact that Steve Buscemi was the one that directed this episode, but it's the most slapstick that you can have
Right.
in a situation where you've got two guys going to kill this dude. Because none of it was planned. It didn't need to happen. It's not like when we saw Seal and Paulie going to pay a visit to the manager of the hotel.
Right.
That they had to cut. You know.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't like that. This guy had the money. He's just sitting there. He's not bending over backwards, kissing Paulie's ass. He's drinking his drink. He's got the money. It's on the TV. Paulie is just being a jerk. And everything happens from there. And it just, again, for people, if you're watching us first, I encourage you, pay attention to the relationship between Paulie and Christopher, because what we see in this hour-long episode is a real arc in their relationship, showing what it really is up until this point, and planning something for what's coming forward.
But you also remember, Paulie has these moments early on. It's like episode 2 when he and Pussy are looking for the car. And they go to that thing, and he's like, "They stole all of this from us." Don't you remember? He took the thing. Pussy's like, "I'm just trying to find information." Paulie's just angry. He just has those moments.
Yep.
As the night draws near, the lost shivering pair becomes more desperate to find their way to food and warmth. Tony is held up at home by the appearance of his in-laws, and Carmella asks for Tony's emotional support when she is told that her father's been given some bad news by the doctor.
Aren't you staying for coffee? My father has glaucoma. Because it's understood that because he has glaucoma, everything shuts down. Give him some pot and let's keep on going.
No, they got to delve into this.
Right, we got to talk about. We got to
come up with it. We got to come up with a game plan. Meanwhile, Tony's like, I think they killed a guy who saved a guy that I'm trying to launder money through, and all that. And he can't halfway hear. He doesn't know what's happening there. And she's like, "You're not staying for coffee?"
My father has glaucoma.
As a result, though, Tony is late to dinner with Gloria. And when he shows up, he's like, "I could have used some coffee and some glaucoma discussion." After making up once again and just before eating, Tony gets a call from Paulie telling him to come and get them, as they may be dying of hypothermia, starvation, or even injury to Paulie's shoeless foot. Left with no option, he tells Gloria they has to leave for an emergency and can't eat, causing her to become extremely angry. Now, she was angry. They make up. Right. It wasn't a huge thing. And then he gets this call. She throws a piece of London broil
at the back of his neck.
Tony. By the way, London broil, my ex-wife's favorite meal. I don't know where she gets to that now. Because she would only eat it when her father would make it. He since passed away. God bless you, Jimmy Johnson. He was a good man, but knew his way around the London broil. It's excellent.
It's a good cut. It's a good cut. Yeah, I like the gravy that comes with it. Not spaghetti sauce.
Not the sauce. The gravy.
The gravy.
Who suppresses his annoyance by laughing off the situation and leaves to help his associate as Gloria trashes the laden table setting, which makes no sense at all to me, because he's not coming back to clean that up. Even if he had stayed, he wouldn't have cleaned it up. You just make more work for yourself. Yeah.
Work for yourself. Like Tony, even if Tony was staying there, Tony wasn't going to help clean up. I mean, hell, she's sitting there trying to unburden herself. Tony's like, "Well, you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to." So Tony is not invested, man.
Because if Tony had stayed and he said, "You want some help?" The trash can's around the corner. You want to bring that back. Being in waste management, you know that you don't have a lot of you don't want a lot of space between your receptacle and your mess.
I will tell you this though, one of the funniest lines from this show, this episode, happens because of the fallout between Gloria and Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Tony goes to Junior. What? You been eating steak? What? Junior, oblivious to what happened. What? You eating steak? Because he smells the juice from this man's neck. And then enter Bobby B. And then Tony has a fit laughing at him because I mean, look, you got to be honest with him. I mean, Bobby looked.
Got a fantastic story. That's a setup. I got a fantastic story. I found out something about that. I don't know if you know this story or not, but I got a fantastic story about that. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Meadow, meanwhile, has a cold and is spending time with Jackie Jr. at her college dorm. Excuse me, folks. I'm going to take a little bit of a drink here. Got a little bit of cough. Jackie leaves early after she declines to have sex with him. He's like, I was just kidding, unless you really want to.
Unless you really want to.
Later, he calls and gives a poor excuse not to come to Meadow's place and fails to call when promised. So Meadow becomes suspicious and gets a friend from her dorm to get her a ride to Jackie's place. It is on then as the pair catch him walking down the street with another girl. Meadow gets out of the car and tearfully confronts Jackie. The two women then pull off in the car, leaving a frustrated Jackie. Meadow is taken to the hospital wing shortly after and rehydrated. She is visited by Caitlin and some other girls who try to convince her that Jackie, although attractive, was not suited for her. Meadow tells her friends that they can't understand her feelings. Now, Meadow and the friend that drove her get into it with the girl that Jackie is with. They take off. Then the girl's like, "Bump this. I don't need this either," and she leaves.
Right, because of what Jackie said. Jackie's like, "Are you dumb? That's Tony Soprano's daughter. What's that got to do with me? I didn't even know that anybody was going to be out here today. I'm sitting here trying to come and hang out with you because you done sent me the daggum eggplant emoji. So I'm here with you, and now all of a sudden I'm getting cussed out by somebody in a car. Like, what is this?" So yeah, she left.
I can't blame her. I cannot blame her at all. Paulie and Christopher manage to find an abandoned van where they spend the rest of the night. For warmth, Paulie rips up the van's carpet and he and Christopher share packets of frozen ketchup and relish. Try the relish. Try it with the relish.
Mix it with the relish.
From an old Nathan's bag. Later, Christopher is seen clumsily trying to light a fire using sticks. When Christopher, standing outside the van urinating, blames Paulie for the predicament and accuses him of trying to save himself at Christopher's expense, the two have an angry confrontation, which has been building for a while. From all that stuff that Paulie was doing to Christopher, smelling Adriana's panties and making him strip, and then all of that. And then Christopher thought he was going earlier when he was showing in the big mouth Billy backs. You know, Christopher was like, "Let me go for my piece." This has been building for a while.
Yeah, those two have had turmoil, and Paulie is responsible for a lot of it. You know, Paulie does not respect Christopher at all. And yeah, go ahead.
Which I'm trying not. I'm learned, of course. I've seen a few episodes after this. Paulie's going down an avenue that, even though the actor was like, I don't, didn't want to be a rat. I think also, like, he realizes that his character is very impulsive.
Yeah.
And that is getting him in more and more trouble. But you're starting to see that right now. Christopher claims Paulie was planning to choke him to death while he slept. Paulie then attacks Christopher and begins choking him, so Christopher pulls a gun on Paulie, saying he thinks Paulie was conjuring up a plan to murder him. He had overheard Paulie blaming the whole fiasco on Christopher when speaking to Tony over the phone. Christopher then angrily says he'll leave Paulie out in the woods. After a few moments of tension, Christopher breaks down in laughter. Paulie tells Christopher to promise not to leave him, and also says he would never kill Christopher. Tony asks Bobby Bacala, a skilled outdoorsman, to help him find Paulie and Christopher. He shows up dressed far too appropriately. He's got the vest on.
Everything. Camo.
Yeah. He's wearing over-the-top outdoor hunting gear and is about to leave, resenting Tony's ridicule until Uncle Junior firmly says that if he orders Bobby to help Tony, he will do it. Because Bobby respects Junior.
Right.
He respects Tony too, but not enough. Like, you call me to help you.
Everybody's got their limits, sir. Everybody's got their limits.
Driving to the Pine Barrens, the two share their first friendly moment when Tony apologizes for making fun of Bobby and expresses gratitude for his taking care of Uncle Junior. Bobby tries to make a joke, but it is embarrassingly juvenile and stale to the point where Tony can't even begin to feign amusement. Arriving at the woods, they park in the same spot where Paulie and Christopher parked. Paulie's car is gone. Tony and Bobby holler for a response, but realize they will have to wait until dawn. In the daylight, Tony and Bobby are out searching for Paulie and Christopher, who have left the van and continue to struggle some distance away. Paulie's makeshift shoe falls off, and he shoots it in a fit of crazed frustration. Tony and Bobby hear the shots and head towards their source, calling for Paulie and Christopher. They respond and soon meet up with one another. Paulie and Christopher are grateful that they have been found and climb into Tony's Chevy Suburban, where there are food and drinks, but Tony is clearly irritated with Paulie for getting him into such a predicament with Slava and for losing the original target for their mission, Silvio's 5000, which was in Paulie's car. So at the end of it all, they didn't even get the money. Four men wonder whether Valeri took Paulie's car. When Paulie gives a false version of what caused the fight with Valeri, Christopher backs him up. Tony tells Paulie to take responsibility for any trouble created by Valeri's disappearance or potentially a re-emergence, and to make an executive decision about whether or not to further pursue Valeri, as Paulie holds the position of capo regime. Paulie decides to give up and head back home to North Jersey. During sessions with Dr. Melfi, Tony confesses he's seen Gloria Trillo and tells her of his problems with her. Melfi tries to connect the dots and tells him that his new Kumar, is not the only one who is impossible to please, difficult, and depressive. She then asks, "Does this remind you of any other woman in your life?" Mm-hmm. After a thoughtful pause, Tony shakes his head slightly and shrugs. Now, Valeri's fate. This has been a very heated topic of conversation ever since this episode because we never see him again.
Right.
They had tried to say that David Chase had said that in the last season that he was going to have a scene where Christopher and Paulie coming out of a club and they see Valeri and just shoot him right then. But that he took the scene out before they actually shot it.
Gotcha.
He's like, everything is not tied up neat in a bow. He says that Valeri passes out. Some Boy Scouts find him. He has the name of Slava in there. They call him, and Slava sends him back to the Ukraine.
Gotcha.
That's one thing that he says. David Chase has stated that he never intended to return the character of Valeri, claiming that the story is richer and more realistic with some mystery to it. HBO listed Valeri as deceased with a question mark in promotional materials. Terrence Winter says that's the question I get asked more than any other. It drives people crazy. Where's the Russian? What happened to the Russian? We could say, well, he got out and there's a big mob war with the Russians, or he crawled off and died, but we wanted to keep it ambiguous. You know, not everything gets answered in life. David
They
Chase
sure
says
pay.
David Chase says they shot a guy. Who knows where he went? Who cares about some Russian? This is what Hollywood has done to America. Do you have to have closure on every little thing? Isn't there any mystery in the world? It's a murky world out there. It's a murky life these guys lead. Later, Chase would say in an interview with the Actors Guild, okay, this is what happened. Some Boy Scouts found the Russian who had the telephone number to his boss Slava in his pocket. They called Slava, who took him to the hospital where he had brain surgery. Then Slava sent him back to Russia. So, Michael Imperioli and Tony Sirico discussed the episode in a June 10th, 2007 New York Times article titled One Final Whack at That HBO Mob. The episode was like a little one-act play, like a different version of Waiting for Godot. Ever since, viewers have been waiting for the mobster to return ready for revenge, but he has never reappeared. This show was never what people expected, Mr. Imperioli said. Mr. Sirico said a tease had been in the works. We had a scene this season when Chris and I are talking in a bar about whatever happened to that Russian guy. And in the script, we were supposed to go outside, and there he was standing on the corner. But when we went to shoot it, they took it out. I think David didn't like it. He wanted the audience to suffer.
Gotcha.
The Pine Barrens is a protected wilderness area by the New Jersey Pinelands Commission in southern New Jersey, where Christopher and Paulie tried to dispose of Valeri's remains. Pine Barrens make up approximately 25% of New Jersey's land area, one of the largest wilderness area in the most densely populated state in the United States. The idea of this episode's premise of Christopher and Paulie getting lost in the woods was reportedly dreamed one night by Tim Van Patten when he told it to Terrence Winter and they presented it to David Chase. Chase endorsed Winter's idea, who said it would be a good move to show Paul and Christopher in an unfamiliar environment. When the pair was away from crime and out in a strange setting, such as the wild back country, you could see that they'd become bickering and lost like little kids. The four scenes for the episode were filmed in Harriman State Park in New York. After, at the last moment, the production team was denied a permit to film in New Jersey by the Essex County Commissioner, who called the Sopranos a disgrace to Italians. That same commissioner was later incarcerated for corruption. The actual New Jersey Pine Barrens has a significantly different landscape than the area where the show was filmed. The Barrens are more vastly forested with pine trees, hence the name, and flat, where the woods depicted in the episode were with hills and covered less with any kind of trees. The snow fell out on the forest location unexpectedly just before the actual shoot. Both the cast and crew agree it was very fortunate, as the snow wound up strengthening the episode's impact. The interior of the truck was shot on the soundstage. The actor's freezing breath was added in CGI. Director Steve Buscemi was the one who successfully threw the stake at James Gandolfini's head in the scene with Tony's argument with Gloria, after neither Annabella Sciorra nor the prop handlers were able to hit Gandolfini with it properly. So he's the one that threw it, and it hit Gandolfini. Pine Barrens took 12 days to be shot, setting a record for the longest episode shoot in Sopranos at the time. There's a notable factual error early in the episode where Paulie is seen pumping his own gas. All gas stations in New Jersey are full serve, meaning that only gas station attendants are permitted to pump gas in New Jersey, which is why I never get gas in New Jersey. I don't trust somebody else to take my card and pump my gas. According to Steve Sciarippa, James Gandolfini challenged him to really make him laugh when they shot the scene where Bobby walked in with his hunting outfit. When it came time to shoot, Sciarippa walked in holding a giant dildo that the props department found. The shot with Bobby off camera and Tony uncontrollably laughing captured Gandolfini's genuine reaction to the sight, with Dominic Chianzi also visibly amused though he keeps his composure. So that's why he's physically laughing. He's holding a huge dildo. The song played during the opening scenes where Gloria Trillo arrives at the docks is appropriate enough. Them's Gloria.
Gloria.
Widely regarded as one of the best episodes of the Sopranos series, mostly due to the fact of the offbeat and dark comedy between Paulie and Christopher. It's been one of my favorite episodes so far. Former Norwegian Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg lists this episode as his favorite in an interview with the Norwegian newspaper Dagbladet. In his acceptance speech for outstanding directing for drama series at the 59th Primetime Emmy Awards, Alan Taylor thanks Buscemi for his work on Pine Barrens. Terrence Winter and Tim Van Patten received an award from the Writers Guild of America for their work on this episode. Big episode in the series, folks. And other than the stuff with Gloria and the stuff with Meadow, it's kind of a self-contained story. Like, there's no real fallout between Tony and his contact.
So ask me about that when we're done.
Okay, all right.
Because I feel
as of
what
right
you're
now,
saying.
there could be like further.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right
like
now, yeah.
I feel like as of right now, you're 100% right. Pine Barrens could honestly exist all on its own, because Paulie and Chris going to make a pickup for Syl. The fact that it happened to be the Russian guy that was working with the guy who was laundering Tony's money is all circumstantial, but it comes in handy because Tony's able to do a little reconnaissance to find out that the dude is an interior decorator who's killed 16 Czechoslovakians. So,
and his place looked like shit.
And his place looked like shit. It is an outstanding episode, because again, we talk about Christopher and Paulie's relationship leading up to this point. It's been, cut and go, like some good, some bad. Paulie tries to come off like he's concerned and considerate, like he's nice to Chris, when he continues to do these things to piss Christopher off. And it just kind of came to a head. Christopher knew he couldn't kill him, but the fact that they were so, cold and hungry that Chris was even he even got to the point to where he pulled the gun out and actually had it pointed at him. I mean, like all of that, and Paulie legitimately thought that he might get shot. Like he recognized it, but look, I mean, we're seeing who Paulie is. Paulie does not like to take responsibility for his actions and is quick to blame someone else and lie about it. He has absolutely no problem lying, because he was ready to call Christopher the culprit, even though he had already told Tony that the Russian had sucker punched him. He still tries to blame Christopher as the reason why everything happened. And that's just, like I say, it's just a peek into Paulie's psyche, because up until this point, we get hints of Paulie, but you don't get a whole lot into his character arc to see what type of person he is yet.
And you think about it, this should have just been just a slam dunk assignment for them.
Oh, yeah.
You got them going to pick up money, which they do all day,
all the time.
Should have been that. All right, regardless of what happened, they got to now get rid of the Russian. Again, something that they had both done plenty of times.
Yep.
It should have been boom, 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 and they're done. Doesn't go the way that they want to. He's running away. They're chasing him. Again, something that they have done before. It doesn't go well. It's just one, it's like a comedy of errors, one thing after another.
Is when they were going after Mikey Palmieri back in season 1 because of the failed hit on Tony. That was okay. He ran. Well, we caught him before he could get too far. This time, he ran. Oh, well, we shot him. That didn't stop him. It's Abbott and Costello set on, a mafia stage. It's those, it's the slapstick stuff that I was talking about earlier. But it's set, with a made background.
So here we come, the final episode of this cycle, this episode of what we're watching, Amor Foul or Fall. It's the 12th episode. Amor Foul. It's the 12th episode of season 3, 38th overall episode, directed by Tim Van Patten and written by Frank Renzulli and David Chase. Originally aired on May 13th, 2001. Carmella meets Meadow at an art museum where Carmella begins spotting blood. She asks her for a tampon and excuses herself to go to the ladies' room, then returns to find Meadow looking at paintings. Carmella is brought to tears when she sees de Ribera's The Mystical Marriage of St. Catherine of Alexandria. Later, while watching a commercial on television, Carmella begins to sob but quickly regains her composure when she realizes it's only a commercial for pedigree dog food. She later takes confession with a priest who is pursuing a doctorate degree in psychology. Carmella tells the priest that she is worried that she has ovarian cancer and of her encounter with Dr. Krakauer. The priest asks Carmella if she loves Tony, to which she replies, "I do." He then advises her not to leave him, but to help him grow, to be more loving to him, and to live on the good and forego the bad. And she's thinking hard about this. Over lunch with the other mob wives, Carmella then tells them that she has a clean bill of health and that she was worried she was pregnant, but it turned out to be a thyroid problem. Rosalie April tells them they should all admire Hillary Clinton, not for her personality, but for the way she handled herself when Bill Clinton admitted his affair, which included her ultimately setting up her own thing. Carmella believes that this is true and that she should be a role model to all of us. Tony, meanwhile, continues to see Gloria, even as her erratic behavior continues. It's not like she's like, "Oh, Tony had a bad, that was a bad night. Let's just forget it. I'll make you another London broil. I'm not going to throw it at your head this time."
Right.
She apologizes to him in the parking lot of Jennifer Melfi's office, but Tony reminds her that if she were a guy, I wouldn't have to tell you where you would be right now.
Yep.
Gloria apologizes and wants the relationship to work, but Tony needs time to think. When he tells Dr. Melfi about his passionate love and hate relationship with Gloria, she dubs it Crazy Love, the name of the episode. Melfi then tells Tony that Gloria did love him. Tony decides to give the relationship another chance, but when Gloria blows up at Tony when her tires get slashed, and he finds out that she drove Carmella home from Globe Motors after Carmella dropped off her Mercedes-Benz station wagon for service and later called Carmella.
Yep.
He calls the relationship off permanently. During a heated argument with Gloria, he slaps her and she mockingly says, "Poor you," and that she should sit back like a mute. These are phrases that Livia used to say to Tony.
Yep.
And he suddenly realizes that she is a lot like his mother. "I've known you my whole fucking life."
Yeah.
Gloria also derides Carmella as a Goomba housewife who puts up with anything in exchange for a big gaudy ring. When he goes for the door, Gloria threatens to tell Carmella about the affair if he leaves. I was just like, "Oh, Gloria, Gloria, Gloria."
When you knew when she volunteers to take
Carmella home. I'm like, ooh.
I'm sitting there watching it, and the anxiety is just boiling up inside because there is no good that can come from that. Because when you, as the Gumar, especially with Tony, when you start messing with home, that's when the problem comes. Erin called the house. She called the house, and when she called the house, slowly but surely, he phased her out. You do not mess with home. Sorry, Gloria.
Not only did she mess with home, she came home.
She came home.
She brought Carmella home. Enraged, he attacks her, upending her dining room table and throwing her across the room. The fight continues and he begins to choke her. She begs him to kill her, but he leaves instead. Because I honestly thought, I'm like, he's going to do it. But when she says, "Choke me, kill me,"
I think in that particular moment, that was a moment of weakness on his part because of the fact that, we look at Tony and we recognize, he's not a great guy. He kills people. But he tries to be good. Tries, when it's conscious for him. He was warned by Dr. Melfi on this woman as best as she possibly could. Is she happy? Does she seem happy to you? Like she tried to warn him to prevent him. I just don't feel like he felt comfortable killing her, considering the information that he knows, considering where he met her and everything that goes into it. I think that's why he restrained himself at that moment.
I've known you my entire life. It would
Yep.
be like killing his mother,
Mm-hmm.
even though she was behind him, trying almost getting killed.
He
There is still a line Tony Soprano will not
will
cross.
not cross, right?
Meanwhile, Jackie Jr. and his friend Dino want to get ahead in life. So, of course, they enter into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People course. They better themselves. They get some help. No.
They go see Ralphie.
They become more than mere associates. After hearing Ralphie's story of how Tony and Jackie Sr. got on the fast track to getting made after robbing Feach Lamanna's Saturday night card game, the two later spontaneously decided to do the same during Eugene Pontecorvo's game, asking Carlo Renzi to join them because he has the shotgun.
He got the shotgun. Carlo.
And, Ralphie tells him the story and is like, you got to clean out rinse off your plate after you finish. And that sets Jackie Jr. off, this guy with his rinse off your plate. Arriving at the spot, Jackie hesitates and tries to back out, even though he was the one who initiated the idea. But Dino convinces him to go through with it before the crank wears off. The three don ski mask and enter the April Crew hangout where the poker game is taking place, but are alarmed when the players include some familiar faces: Christopher, Furio, and Boy Barisi. Carlo and Dino demand that the players give them their money and to be quiet while Jackie stays silent for fear his voice will be recognized. The dealer, Sunshine, my favorite character from this episode, he gives them some shit, man. He's saying something like, he's just
this
giving
ain't what y'all want. This ain't what you want.
No. Then he's reciting "If." It's a famous poem. If you can keep your head while all others about you, because he's like, look, just like the previous episode, I'm not gonna beg. If you're gonna shoot me, you're gonna shoot me.
That's it. That's it. Go to work or not.
So they shoot him and kill him. Jackie panics and kills him as the mobsters draw guns. Again, good for you. The only thing I'll say is good for you, Jackie, for bringing a gun to a gunfight. But you got to admit, when you get in there, this is a gunfight. They got guns too.
Right.
A firefight breaks out. Furio is shot in the thigh by Jackie, and Christopher shoots Carlo in the forehead, killing him instantly. Matouche, who is Jackie's getaway driver, abandons the robber as soon as he hears the gunshots. And when Jackie and Dino flee into the street, Jackie resorts to carjacking a passing vehicle, deserting Dino,
Leaving Dino,
who is caught and executed by Boy and Christopher. Furio is rushed to the offices of Dr. Freed, a urologist, for a clandestine emergency operation. Dr. Freed's just trying to film a commercial. He gets called off set. In the waiting room, Christopher warns Tony that he knows Jackie Jr. was the escaped robber and that he has to be killed. However, Tony seems troubled due to his long history with Jackie's father.
right.
So, as they used to say back in the day, there's a flaw in the slaw.
Flaw in the slaw.
At the pork store the following morning, Ralphie meets Tony to discuss the face of Jackie Jr. It's a bad situation. He's like, I'm just throwing up my hands. I don't know where they got that idea. Ralphie wants to give him a pass because of Ralph's relationship with Jackie's mother. But because of what happened with Furio and Sunshine, he cannot easily let it go. Tony tells Ralphie that since Pontecorvo was a member of Ralphie's crew and it was his game, it's his decision to make sure that it's the right one.
Right.
and that he will understand if Ralphie gives Jackie a pass. However, Tony hints to Ralphie that if he does give Jackie a pass, he may lose the respect of the other captains and Tony himself, but advises him not to be concerned about what they think. Ralphie later tells a sobbing Rosalie that Jackie probably went to Florida and that he has a substance abuse problem, which deeply upsets her. Oh, she just falls apart. And it's not going to get any easier, folks. Just a hint of what's coming next time. It's not getting any easier on poor Rosalie.
Yeah, Rosalie, man, you got to feel for that one. But once you saw Jackie getting more and more involved, and he cheated on Meadow,
Yep.
you had to know that the outcome in the long scheme was not going to be favorable for one Jackie Jr. So, maybe it would have been better for Rosalie to know how her son was messing up. But everybody, for the most part, kept everybody else in the dark. Tony knew what was going on. Tony knew about the times that he had saw Jackie out. He never said anything to Carmella about it. He would
No.
always say, Jackie's a nice guy. He don't want to have to eat his words because Carm was against Jackie Jr. up front.
Right.
And he tried to persuade her. So now that he saw it, he didn't want to, admit to it. So everybody's in the dark about it. So nobody has any reason to understand why Jackie Jr. is not around, which is why Carmella was so surprised when she's having a conversation with Meadow, and Meadow is like, "That's so over." And
Right.
she's like, "Why?" Well, if Tony had been talking to her, she would totally understand.
Patsy Parisi is then shown taking a test drive with Gloria at the Mercedes-Benz. He pulls over in an isolated area and threatens her with a gun, telling her in not so many words to stay away from Tony or they will be scraping nipples off those fine leather seats. He then gets into his Cadillac, which was already parked at the scene, leaving her stunned and shaking in the test car because she's like, if we're not back in a certain time, they do something. He's like, I don't care. They're going to find nipples.
They're going to find nipples on these seats.
Patsy is later shown having a mundane conversation on his cell phone about groceries and driving off uneventfully in his car. Rosalie April, this is trivia, talks about Bill Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky and refers to him as the president of the USA, although this episode was released during the Bush administration. It may be because it was shot during the waning days of the Clinton administration prior to Bush's 2001 inauguration. And they talk about admiring Hillary she had set up for herself because at that point, she was just about to become the senator from New York.
Gotcha.
And how they should all admire her because they know all of their husbands have their little Gumars and they all know the life is. And Carmella's like, you're right. And she had just been like, she was worried about, was she pregnant or about to have a miscarriage or was it ovarian cancer? No, it was a thyroid issue. And so we're setting things up for an explosive season 3 finale. Because Jackie Jr.'s on the run and Ralphie's been tasked with, we'll understand if you give him a pass, but you basically, what to do.
I mean, there's so much. So I mean, obviously recapping on everything, these 4 episodes leave us asking questions going into the finale. Right. How was Meadow, with the whole relationship with Jackie Jr.? Because obviously in this season we've seen her go from Noah, that heartbreak, losing her virginity, to now going to Jackie, which is somebody that her parents approved of, but he still ended up doing her dirty anyway. Right. AJ, his whole getting in trouble and then seeing what athlete special treatment looks like, because this guy got 5 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown, and they're like, hey, he's our defensive captain. We need to keep him around. So, that whole thing with regards to him actually being held accountable for his actions. And then huge on me is Chris and Paulie. I don't, family or not, you pull a gun on me. and it's kind of hard to go back from that. So I'm curious as to what, if the finale at all is going to address at all some of the stuff that we saw happen in the Pine Barrens. So definitely excited to see what's coming on this finale, man. And then, going into season 4, I'm like, okay, we're on the back half now. So what's coming? So yeah, definitely excited. It was a good couple of episodes.
You've got everything you're talking about with Meadow definitely comes to a head in the next episode. You definitely know something's coming with the Jackie Jr. situation. I mean, folks, you don't have to be Nostradamus or Kreskin to figure this out. Something's got to, even if it were to give him a pass, it's got to be addressed. Come to a head. You got to be addressed there. Everything also with Meadow, as I mentioned before, everything with AJ, because that comes back around, not fully dealing with it,
right.
Only brings it up more. You've got more stuff coming up. Big time episode with Christopher next episode. You see something happen with Paulie. You see something happen with Adriana. A huge thing happens with Adriana. That was me foreshadowing it when I talked about her getting the club and the FBI not knowing about it yet. Oh, they address it,
right.
Folks. They address it. We say goodbye to Gloria. Patsy got the message across there, but now Tony's got emptiness in his life, and Tony needs that third.
Right. Always got to have a triangle, which we get excited for season 4 to see, because obviously with season 3, I can't imagine that we're going to be introduced to a new love interest in the final season. But that just means not in the final season, the final episode of the season,
right?
But just getting geeked up and ready for what's coming in 4. Who's going to be the new third? Dr. Melfi and Carmella are locked in, but then also that relationship there. We're seeing Carmella start to ask a lot more questions about the relationship that she has with Tony and the validity of it. Should I continue to do it? How much of an accessory to this life am I? Am I 100% responsible for the bad stuff that happened because I choose to be with someone who makes his money and his life the way that he does? Because I honestly think a lot of times she sits at home just waiting on the phone to ring with something negative, and I don't necessarily know that she cares for that life. And especially now, she's getting to the point to where she wants to be self-reliant, and we need to find out what is that going to look like, because she's made reference to wanting to do more, and Tony usually laughs and then offers her something else to distract. So it's going to be interesting to see where this relationship goes.
And I think whatever it is in the back of her head grew bigger this time because she had that conversation with the priest, and she was talking about she was worried it was cancer, and then it turned out to be the thyroid issue, and he tells her, latch on to the good, not the bad, but the good. Love him, grow that part, the good part of him. She takes that to heart, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I've got this wonderful house. I've got this wonderful family for the most part, everybody's got their thing. But it's like, I feel like that's also her mind. She's got this beautiful mind where she's got this lovely family, this lovely house, but there's like a family that moved in next door, and they're the Jackhammer family. And it may be tiny, but they're just knocking on that wall because she's not, and that's going to manifest itself, folks, in the next few episodes. A little bit in the next episode with some stuff that happens, but definitely when we reach season 4, some stuff that we thought that we had dealt with continues to come back, and we see a new side of Carmella, and we're going to discuss that next time. But in the meantime, and in the in-between time, TJ, go ahead and plug away any and everything that you've got, my friend.
All right. So if you want more from this guy, and thank you all for listening to another episode, I'm going to ask you that if you haven't, go ahead and click and subscribe and share us with your friends. If you want to hear more from me, I can be heard on the Joey Harris Show with this gentleman. He is to my left as far as my perception is on my camera. So if I'm pointing at nothing, just shut up. Just don't even
Go the other way.
just look the other way, clearly. But I'm also on the Highbrow podcast as well as the Tokyo Smoke Show. And those are available wherever podcasts are played. So, let's continue to enjoy this Sopranos ride. Joey, thank you for letting me take this ride with you. I'm so glad to be, chopping this up. And I'm just looking forward to more episodes of this. I'm looking forward to what shows we got coming. So yeah, let's keep this thing going, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I got some ideas. I've been percolating on it, but I do have some ideas. The latest episode, it won't be the latest one as this drops, but the latest one that we've done, go back, look for it. It's episode 79. TJ was on with me. It's called Pizza Crust and Potato Salad.
And potato salad.
And if you want to know what we're talking about, you got to listen to the episode. I'm not going to tell you, but we break down both potato salad and pizza crust.
It was a good episode, man. Thank you for having me on that one too.
But new episodes of the Joey Harris Show every Sunday, wherever you get your podcast. New episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show every Thursday, wherever you get your podcast. And like my man said, every other week we're here for what we're watching on YouTube. If you haven't, like, subscribe, share. I know people have been doing all three lately, but comment. Also let us know what you like. If there's something else that you want us to watch after we finish with the Sopranos. We're going to do the Sopranos, then we're going to do the Many Saints of
Newark.
It just went out of my head. And just some interesting things on there. Go if you have not. I'll do this for the audience and you, TJ, and then we'll wrap up. Go if you have not to Amazon or anything, or if you've got time to go to the store where they sell DVDs. They have the DVD of this now. Pick it up and just read the back of it, the description, and I'm like, huh, that's what was happening? Totally not what I thought that what would happen, but haven't seen the movie. Familiar with some of the characters now from it, but I'm like, huh, don't know if I would have written it that way, but again, it could be totally like they were like, Mark, you did a really good job describing this. But again, it was just, I'm like, huh, okay. So, yeah, and it ties into something that we'll see on our next group of episodes. So that's a little tease with the next time. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good evening.